Welcome. Today we're talking with Jim Stapleton. He is a Senior Vice President, Client Partner at Epsilon, a global advertising and marketing technology company positioned at the center of Publicis Group. Jim, welcome and thank you for joining us at today's Banker Digest.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, very good. Welcome. So, Jim, as you know, bankers are continuing to improve their marketing efforts. What is the current focus of advertising in the banking industry?
Yeah, great question, Larry. So a lot has changed. Really, I would say what we're experiencing from the relationships and the interactions that we're having with our banking customers is a desire to more holistically understand the consumer. Honestly, of all of the different verticals that we support retail, hospitality. Bankers actually end up with a lot of direct first-party information about their clients, right?
Right.
About their consumers, where they shop, how much they have saved, what they, their loans on cars and homes. They've got a fairly decent understanding of that consumer. But
Right.
I think all of us as consumers would say, yes, true, but that's not all of who I am. There's a much broader picture of Larry than that.
Right.
And so being able to augment what they know of their customers directly with third-party data, aligning that for a more holistic understanding, and then also understanding kind of life stage event changes. All right. So, did I just come back from a paternity leave and therefore there's a new child in the home? Maybe, if the banker provides well services, a 529 might be a timely product. Right. Or am I, in the midst of shopping for a home, in which case maybe 30, 60 days from now, I'll be in need of a mortgage. So being able to anticipate those needs earlier, not when they come hopefully knocking on my door or maybe my competitor's door, but well in advance of that, to begin taking advantage of the communication opportunities I've got with a Larry, to be able to communicate what's next for you in a timely fashion, get earlier in the consideration cycle. And then, of course, acting on that, right? Once you have that knowledge, being able to act on that both through your paid and owned channels. That's kind of the current marketing challenge, is to really do that and do it really at the person level. So that personalization.
Great. Thank you, Jim. So with bankers, as you're describing, utilizing more and more vendor resources for marketing and advertising, what are the data security challenges with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, we work, I'm thinking of one of our banking clients that has more than 150 partners that they work with in their marketing efforts, right? Marketing partners, technology partners, that they end up having to share that first party data that we talked about in order to align it to the third party data, in order to activate it in paid and owned channels. So a lot of PII is kind of flying around. And when they form these partnerships, they obviously, we don't know a banking client who's not very sensitive about that data and understanding sort of the risk of a breach, of a loss of, if that data gets out into the wild, sort of the breach of trust, of implied trust, right? We trust our banks with our money, but we also trust our banks with our data and our personally identifiable information. And receiving a notice from our bank that trust has been unfortunately broken is not something any bank wants to do. It can be really catastrophic to their reputation. And so what they end up, so I mean, that's sort of the risk associated with a lot of these things.
Thanks, Jim. So based on that background, so what steps can bankers take to address the concerns with sharing the PII, or personal identified information, with their marketing and or advertising partners?
Yeah, so I mean, up till now, Larry, the choices have not been great. You could basically, either choose not to do something, so not to partner, maybe there's a retailer you want to do some special incentive with, and you'd say, you know what, it's going to take 9 months by the time I vet you in terms of a recipient of my PII. And then I'm going to have to audit you. And, that partner may say, you know what, it's probably not worth it. I don't want to go through the scrutiny. I don't want to go through the trouble. By the time we get this pulled together, the market will have moved. And so often they just take a pass, honestly, on those opportunities, or they endure, the pain and suffering of ensuring that the person they're sending it to is going to handle it properly, secure it properly, and if
Right.
this is a long-term relationship, re-audit that with a great deal of frequency, which puts a
Right.
burden on both parties,
Right.
but a necessary, step to ensure that the PII remains secure.
Great, great. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so previously those were the two choices. Okay. What we've introduced, and we really did at the direct request of one of the top 3 banks in the US, for whom we are their data marketing warehouse. So we are by far their largest recipient of their PII. And they asked us first for ourselves, is there a way that we could do all the things that we do for that bank without having to receive their PII, right? And we, to be honest, it was a great sort of challenge for us to innovate. And it also didn't hurt that we would not have their PII anymore. That's a liability for us.
Sure.
And, if we were the cause of that, you can imagine that relationship as well as other reputational concerns for ourselves. So it was a great problem for us to solve for all parties. We implemented this new innovative approach that's since been patented, we call Zero PII, which enables that bank to no longer send us any of their PII. And yet we have 2 petabytes of data that we use for that bank to help them drive marketing, and more data being added as they go. And they're able to do all those things I originally said, but with no PII risk whatsoever.
Wow. Wow. Thanks, Jim. So that's amazing. So what benefits can bankers expect with your new Zero PII approach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so first, as I mentioned, just the reduced risk. So if you've got 100+ people that you provide your PII to, every one of them is a single point of failure. Any one of them can give rise to that sort of catastrophe, reputational catastrophe I talked about. And so for the CISO, that's a I can't sleep at night kind of a problem, right? And just having to audit them. And for the marketer, it means that there are probably partnerships and opportunities they're just going to have to take a pass on, because the cost of that partnership from a security perspective is so high, so burdensome, that it's just not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And so I'd say those are the 2 things, really just improving the agility of the marketing team to be able to do modern marketing, personalization, enhancing their holistic view, being able to act on that, but while not being at odds with the CISO, who's wondering why we're sending our PII to yet another party that we have to audit and assure is treating that PII with the care it deserves.
Right. Thank you, Jim. Mitigating the bank's risks of sharing PII data with marketing and other partners will certainly further enable banks to improve their marketing, personalization, and effectiveness. Thank you for spending time with today's Banker Digest.
Thank you, Larry.
Great.
I appreciate it. And, I would encourage any of your listeners who are interested in learning more about this capability to reach out. I would love to talk to them about it.
Great. So in closing, thank you for joining today's Banker Digest. If you have additional questions for Jim, please see the link in his bio.